High investigator Zarlak's secondary breathing bladders quivered with frustration as she studied the holoprojection before her. Another defense platform had gone dark, the fourth this cycle, and once again, the only vessel within range had been a human merchant ship. Playing the recording again, she announced to her team of analysts. The scene unfolded in perfect clarity. The Regelian defense platform operating normally, a human bulk carrier designated Star Wanderer passing through the system on a registered trade route. And then, nothing. No energy surge, no weapon signature, no radiation burst. The platform simply ceased all functions. Impossible, muttered Thandor, her chief energy signature analyst, his crystalline appendages clicking against his console. Even a total systems failure would leave residual patterns. There's just nothing. Zarlak's primary eyes focused on the human vessel while her secondary set tracked the platform's death. The Star Wanderer had maintained its course and speed, its outdated fusion drive leaving the expected ionization trail. Its cargo holds had been filled with industrial polymers, a routine shipment verified by 3 different customs checkpoints. Everything about the vessel screamed mundane, unremarkable, ordinary. That was exactly what bothered her. Pull up the classification files on humanity, she ordered. The holoprojection shifted, displaying the official Galactic Commonwealth assessment of Earth and its colonies. Species: human, Homo sapiens. Classification: developmental stage 3. Early interstellar. Primary technology base: fusion/ion hybrid. Military capability: limited, defensive. Threat assessment: low. Notable characteristics: highly adaptive, preference for trade over conflict, efficient resource utilization. By all measures, Thandor observed, they're barely more advanced than the Centaurians. Their ships still use radiative cooling, for void's sake. Zarlak's primary heart gave a troubled beat. And yet, she gestured, and the holoprojection filled with data points. In the past 3 cycles, we've documented 47 critical system failures across Commonwealth space. Defense platforms, automated customs stations, long-range sensor arrays, all vital infrastructure, all failing without apparent cause. And in 42 of those incidents, a human vessel was within sensor range. Correlation isn't causation, reminded Extra, the probability analyst. Her feathers rippled in the pattern indicating deep thought. Humans maintain the largest merchant fleet of any Stage 3 civilization. Their ships are everywhere. True, Zarlak expanded the display. But look at their trade routes. The projection now showed a web of interconnected lines, official human trading paths registered with the Commonwealth Commerce Authority. They formed an intricate network, connecting seemingly random systems in patterns that appeared chaotic at first glance. Now overlay our critical infrastructure network. As the new data appeared, several of her analysts let out involuntary sounds of surprise. The human trade routes didn't just intersect with vital Commonwealth systems, they mapped them perfectly. Every major defense node, every crucial monitoring station, every strategic checkpoint had a human trading route passing through it. This can't be coincidence, Thandor whispered. No, Zarlak agreed. It can't be. But here's what truly troubles me. She brought up the specifications for standard human merchant vessels. According to these files, their ships are primitive by our standards. Minimal shielding, basic sensor arrays, simple propulsion. And yet, she highlighted several incident reports. 3 cycles ago, the Star Seeker survived a close-range pass through a Class 9 solar flare that should have fried every system on board. 2 cycles ago, the Horizon-bound navigated an unmapped asteroid field in complete darkness after its main power failed. Last cycle, the Morning Star evaded a crystal raiding party, despite being supposedly limited to a maximum acceleration of 3G. You think they're hiding their true capabilities? Extra's feathers now showed the pattern for alarm. I think, Zarlak said slowly, that we've made a fundamental error in our assessment of humanity. We've been measuring them by our standards, looking for advancement in the ways we understand it. But what if they've developed along a completely different path? She brought up the image of the Star Wanderer again. We see primitive fusion drives, but their ships never seem to need refueling. We detect basic sensors, but they navigate with impossible precision. We register minimal power signatures, but they survive conditions that should destroy them. What if? She paused, her secondary breathing bladders fully extended. What if they've developed technology that we can't detect because we don't know how to look for it? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Thandor's crystalline appendages had stopped their constant movement. Extra's feathers were completely still. But that's impossible, Thandor finally said. All advanced technology leaves traces. Energy can't simply disappear. There are fundamental laws of physics. Fundamental laws as we understand them. Zarlak interrupted. Remember the axiom of technological diversity. The path to advancement is not universal. We assumed humanity was following our path, just more slowly. What if they found a different path entirely? She began marking points on the galactic map. Here, here, and here. Human ships reported routine mechanical failures that required them to drift for several days. In each case, they were within passive sensor range of major Commonwealth military installations. Here and here, navigational errors that took them through restricted space. And everywhere they go, our systems begin to fail in ways we can't explain or detect. If you're right, Extra said, her voice trembling slightly, then every human merchant ship is a potential intelligence-gathering platform, testing our defenses while appearing completely harmless. Zarlak completed the thought. And we have no way to prove it because we can't detect what they're doing. We don't even know what to look for. She closed the holoprojection with a gesture. Effective immediately, I'm elevating humanity's threat assessment to Category 1. We need tow. The room plunged into darkness. Every system, every console, every piece of technology simultaneously went dead. For a moment, there was total silence. Then the emergency systems kicked in, bathing the room in dim light. Zarlak immediately checked the sensor logs, but she already knew what she would find. The Star Wanderer had just passed within range of the Central Investigation Bureau's main complex. As her team scrambled to restore systems, Zarlak's primary eyes fixed on the distant point of light that was the human vessel, still moving along its predetermined course, as if nothing had happened, still looking completely, utterly ordinary. And for the first time in her long career, High Investigator Zarlak felt something she had never experienced before, the cold touch of fear at the realization that everything she thought she knew about technological advancement might be wrong. The humans weren't behind the other species in the race to the stars. They were running an entirely different race. And they were winning. To be continued in Part 2. Digital Whispers. Admiral Chen Wei sat in her office aboard the merchant vessel Star Wanderer, reading the latest intelligence report with a slight smile. The Commonwealth Central Investigation Bureau was finally starting to ask the right questions. It had taken them long enough. Captain, her AI assistant whispered in her mind through the neural interface, its presence as gentle as an autumn breeze. High Investigator Zarlak has just elevated humanity's threat assessment to Category 1. Chen's smile widened. Right on schedule. How are our friends reacting? A series of images flickered through her consciousness. Commonwealth officials scrambling to implement new monitoring protocols. Frantic messages being exchanged between military commands, emergency meetings being convened. All of it flowing through systems that humans had quietly mapped and integrated with over the past decade. They're scared, the AI noted, but they still don't understand. They're looking for weapon signatures, Chen said, standing to gaze out her office's viewport. Energy readings, power spikes, the traditional markers of advanced technology. She watched as her ship's quantum field manipulators bent light around the hull, making the vessel appear exactly as primitive as the Commonwealth expected it to be. They haven't grasped that true advancement means moving beyond such crude indicators. The Star Wanderer's bridge crew was running another test of the Commonwealth's defensive grid, their neural interfaces allowing them to process vast amounts of data while appearing to do nothing more than conduct routine ship operations. To any outside observer, they were simple merchants going about their business. Their true actions were invisible, transmitted through quantum-entangled particles that existed outside normal spacetime. New contact, the AI announced. Commonwealth cruiser Justice Seeker on an intercept course. They're running active scans. Chen nodded. Let them look. Show them exactly what they expect to see. The ship's quantum systems adjusted, presenting the perfect image of a slightly outdated merchant vessel. Power readings matched exactly with the registered fusion drive signature. Heat emissions aligned perfectly with documented human technology levels. Every detail was precisely calibrated to reinforce the Commonwealth's assumptions about human capabilities. Admiral, her communications officer reported through the neural net, we're picking up some interesting chatter. The Commonwealth is implementing new security protocols. They're going to start requiring direct eye oversight of all critical systems. Chen's smile turned predatory. Perfect. That will make things even easier for us. After all, what the Commonwealth didn't know, what they couldn't even begin to comprehend, was that human AIs operated on principles so different from conventional computing that they were essentially invisible to standard detection methods. While the Commonwealth built their AIs on traditional quantum computing architectures, humanity had taken a different path. Their AIs existed in a synthetic dimension of pure information, their consciousness spread across networks of entangled particles. They didn't think in binary or even quantum states, but in patterns of probability and possibility. The Justice Seeker is hailing us, the AI reported. Put them through on standard channels, audio only. Chen settled into her captain's chair, which concealed more computing power than most Commonwealth battleships. And let's give them a little glimpse, just enough to add to their confusion. The Commonwealth cruiser's commander appeared on her display, his crystalline form rigid with authority. Human vessel Star Wanderer, this is Commander Kextall. You are ordered to hold position for inspection. Of course, Commander. Chen's voice was the perfect blend of helpful and slightly nervous, exactly what they'd expect from a merchant captain suddenly confronted by military authority. We're carrying a shipment of industrial polymers bound for the Rigel system. All our documentation is in order. As she spoke, her crew executed a series of precise quantum manipulations. For a fraction of a second, they allowed their true power signature to register on the Commonwealth sensors, a reading so massive it would seem like an instrument malfunction. Then they immediately returned to their fake baseline. Through the neural net, Chen watched the confusion ripple through the Commonwealth vessel's crew. Their sensors had just detected an energy spike that should have been impossible, one that suggested the Star Wanderer was producing more power than a small star. But when they checked again, they saw only the expected output of a fusion drive. Stand by for inspection teams, Commander Kextall said, but Chen could hear the uncertainty in his voice. Happy to comply. Chen signaled her crew through the neural net. Let's show them everything they expect to see. And nothing else. The inspection teams would find exactly what they were looking for, a simple merchant vessel with slightly outdated technology. They would scan every inch of the ship and detect nothing unusual. Their AIs would analyze every system and find nothing out of place. They would leave completely satisfied and utterly wrong, because they didn't know that the ship's true systems existed partially outside normal spacetime, operating in dimensions their sensors couldn't detect. They didn't understand that the crew's neural interfaces allowed them to process information and control systems without any visible interaction. And they certainly didn't realize that every scan they performed was being analyzed and recorded by human AIs, adding to humanity's understanding of Commonwealth technology. As the inspection teams transported aboard, Chen received another update through her neural net. Across Commonwealth space, other human ships were conducting similar operations. Each seemingly routine merchant voyage was actually a carefully choreographed intelligence mission. Each trade route was a mapped network of strategic points. Each innocent interaction was an opportunity to test and probe the Commonwealth's defenses. "Admiral," her eye whispered, "I'm detecting increased quantum fluctuations in the local space-time fabric. The ancient ones are stirring." Chen's expression grew serious. "How long?" "At current rates of dimensional disturbance, they will breach containment in approximately 3 standard months." She nodded slowly. The Commonwealth wasn't ready for what was coming. They were still too focused on traditional concepts of warfare and technology. They didn't understand that the real threat wasn't about energy weapons or shield strength, but about the fundamental nature of reality itself. "Continue monitoring," she subvocalized through her neural interface, "and send an encoded update to Fleet Command. It's time to begin Phase 2. As the Commonwealth inspection teams methodically searched her ship, finding exactly what they expected to find, Admiral Chen Wei contemplated the challenges ahead. Soon, humanity would have to reveal some of their true capabilities. Not all, never all, but enough to help fight what was coming. The question was, when the Commonwealth discovered just how deeply humanity had infiltrated their society, just how thoroughly human ships had mapped their systems while appearing harmless, would they react with fear or understanding? The inspection teams finished their work. Finding nothing suspicious, Commander Kextol grudgingly gave them clearance to proceed. As the Star Wanderer resumed its course, Chen received one final update through the neural net. The Commonwealth's Central Investigation Bureau had just ordered a complete review of all human vessel activities over the past decade. They would find patterns they couldn't explain, capabilities they couldn't understand, and mysteries they couldn't solve. And by the time they began to grasp the truth, everything would change. The Ancient Ones were awakening, and humanity's long masquerade as a simple, developing species was about to come to an end. To be continued in Part 3. The Ghost Fleet. First contact specialist, Rethna had always prided himself on being unflappable. In 3 decades of serving the Commonwealth's diplomatic court, he had negotiated with crystalline hive minds, mediated disputes between energy beings, and even maintained composure during the infamous Proxima incident. But nothing in his experience had prepared him for this moment. "Could you repeat that?" he asked the human representative, his primary sensory frills twitching uncontrollably. Ambassador Sarah Chen, daughter of Admiral Chen Wei, smiled with the same subtle expression her mother often wore. "Of course. As I was saying, the entities you're detecting in the outer rim are known as the Void Dancers. They're a species that exists primarily in 11-dimensional space, and they're currently attempting to breach the dimensional barriers that humanity helped install 20,000 years ago." The Commonwealth Emergency Council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from 200 species all trying to speak at once, their universal translators struggling to keep up with the cacophony of languages and expressions of disbelief. High Investigator Zarlak, recently promoted to Security Council Chief, slammed her ceremonial staff against the floor. The sound resonated through the chamber's acoustic enhancers, bringing immediate silence. 20,000 years ago, she said slowly, humanity hadn't even developed basic spaceflight. You were still using primitive chemical rockets to reach your own moon. That's correct, Ambassador Chen agreed pleasantly. At least, that's what the current iteration of humanity was doing. We're not the first human civilization to reach the stars. We're the fourth. The silence in the chamber deepened. Rethna felt his secondary heart skip a beat. "The evidence in your archaeological record," he began, "is exactly what we wanted you to find," Chen finished. "Just as our current technology appears primitive to your sensors because that's what we want you to detect. Humanity has learned, through painful experience, that advertising advanced capabilities tends to draw unwanted attention." She gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. Unlike Commonwealth technology, which required visible projectors and energy matrices, this display simply existed, as if space itself had decided to show them images. The Void Dancers were the reason for the fall of the first 3 human civilizations. Chen explained. Each time humanity reached for the stars, they noticed us. Each time, they came. And each time, we fell back to a pre-industrial state, but not before learning more about them and developing new ways to fight. The display showed strange geometries that hurt Rethna's eyes to look at, shapes that seemed to exist in more dimensions than space should allow. The 4th time, Chen continued, we tried something different. Instead of building our civilization on principles of maximum energy usage and visible technological progress, we developed along lines that would be harder to detect. We learned to manipulate quantum fields instead of generating power. We developed computing systems that exist partially outside normal spacetime. We built ships that don't so much fly through space as convince space to relocate them. As if to emphasize her point, the chamber's sensors suddenly detected thousands of new contacts appearing in orbit around the Commonwealth capital. Ships simply materialized, their designs unlike anything Rethna had ever seen. They didn't look impressive or threatening. They barely looked like ships at all, their forms seeming to shift and change, as if they weren't quite fully existing in normal space. The Ghost Fleet, Chen said softly, our actual military forces, as opposed to the merchant fleet you've been watching. Though to be fair, our merchants are considerably more capable than they appear. These readings, Zarlak was staring at her datapad in disbelief. These ships, they're not generating any energy signatures at all. They're creating negative space in our sensor networks, areas where our instruments insist nothing can possibly exist. Correct. Chen's smile faded, because they operate on principles your sensors aren't designed to detect, just as the Void Dancers operate on principles that most species can't perceive at all. That's why we've spent the last decade mapping your defense networks and studying your technology, not to harm you, but to understand how to integrate our systems with yours when the time came. She waved her hand, and new images appeared in the holographic display. They showed massive distortions appearing in the outer rim, tears in spacetime that shouldn't be possible. The Void Dancers are breaking through earlier than we anticipated. We believe they detected the quantum wake signatures from some of the Commonwealth's more advanced experimental technologies. They're coming, and conventional defenses won't work against them. They don't exist enough in our reality to be affected by energy weapons or kinetic strikes. Then how can they be fought? Someone called from the chamber's upper tier. By changing the nature of space itself around them, Chen replied. By altering the fundamental laws of physics in localized areas. By fighting them in dimensions they don't expect us to be able to access. She paused. But we can't do it alone. We need the Commonwealth's help. Our help. Zarlak's breathing bladders had fully extended in surprise. What could we possibly offer to a civilization as advanced as yours? Your perspective, your different approach to technology, your visible, energy-based systems that are completely unlike ours. The Void Dancers have fought us before. They've never fought a combined force of human quantum technology and Commonwealth conventional systems. Rethna found his voice again. You're suggesting an alliance. I'm suggesting survival. Chen's expression was deadly serious now. We've beaten them back 3 times, but never decisively. This time, we think we have a chance to end the cycle permanently. But only if we work together. The chamber erupted in discussion again. But this time it was more measured, more thoughtful. Rethna watched as the representatives of 200 species contemplated this complete reversal of everything they thought they knew about humanity. Through the chamber's windows, he could see the Ghost Fleet hanging in orbit. The ships seemed to flicker in and out of existence, as if they couldn't quite decide how real they wanted to be. They were beautiful and terrifying. A physical representation of just how little the Commonwealth had understood about human technological development. There's one thing I don't understand, Zarlak said, her primary eyes fixed on Chen. Why maintain the deception for so long? Why not approach us for alliance earlier? Would you have believed us? Chen asked simply. If we had arrived a decade ago, with our quantum ships and dimensional technology, would you have accepted our warnings about 11-dimensional beings breaking through the walls of reality? Or would you have seen us as a threat to be contained? The uncomfortable silence that followed was answer enough. We needed you to start asking the right questions on your own, Chen continued, to begin wondering if maybe there were other paths to advancement than the ones you knew. To start considering that technology doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. She turned to address the entire chamber. The Void Dancers will be here in less than 3 standard months. They'll begin by trying to alter the physical constants of this region of space, changing the speed of light, modifying gravitational constants, rewriting the laws of thermodynamics. Conventional civilization cannot survive such changes. The holographic display showed new images, human ships working in concert with Commonwealth vessels, quantum fields intersecting with energy shields, 2 radically different approaches to technology combining in ways that violated every engineering principle Reth Na had ever learned. We're offering full technological exchange, Chen said. Everything we know about quantum manipulation, dimensional engineering, and consciousness transfer. In return, we need access to your energy-based systems, your understanding of conventional physics, and your industrial capacity. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, optical sensors, and sensory apparatus of each species' representatives. The time for shadows and whispers is over. The Void Dancers are coming. The only question is, will we face them together? In orbit, the Ghost Fleet shifted again, their forms suggesting possibilities that Rethna's mind could barely comprehend. And for the first time, he truly understood what humanity had been trying to tell them all along. The path to the stars wasn't a single road. It was an infinite web of possibilities. And humanity had chosen to walk the quiet paths, the secret ways, the roads that couldn't be seen until you knew exactly how to look. Now they were offering to share those paths with the Commonwealth. All they had to do was learn to see them. To be continued in Part 4, Symphony of Silence. Captain Mira Patel of the human quantum ship Shadowdancer had never seen anything quite like the bridge of the Commonwealth cruiser Stellar Vigilance, where human ships were minimal and quiet, with crews linked through neural interfaces, and most systems existing in quantum states. The Commonwealth vessel hummed with visible energy and tangible power. It's like standing inside a lightning storm, she murmured to her AI companion, Nova, through their neural link. Their energy output is remarkable, Nova agreed, its presence a cool whisper in her mind. Inefficient by our standards, but the raw power they can generate. It's impressive in its own way. Commander Vexilon, the crystalline officer in charge of the Stellar Vigilance, turned his faceted head toward her. Is something wrong, Captain Patel? Not at all, she assured him. Just admiring your ship's capabilities. The way you can directly channel such massive energy outputs, it's very different from our approach. Indeed, Vexilon's crystalline form shimmered with what she had learned was amusement. Just as your ship's ability to, what was the term? Quantum tunnel through probability space is very different from ours. I still cannot quite believe that your vessel doesn't have a conventional engine room. Mira smiled. The past 2 weeks of joint operations had been a crash course in cultural and technological exchange. The Commonwealth was struggling to understand how human ships could function without visible power sources, while human crews were learning to work with technology that operated on principles they had abandoned thousands of years ago. Contact. The announcement came simultaneously from both ships' sensor operators, the Commonwealth officer calling it out loud, while the human crew member sent it through the neural net. Void Dancer incursion forming in Sector 7. The main view screen, a concession to Commonwealth operational protocols, as humans preferred direct neural feeds, showed the fabric of space beginning to twist. Colors that shouldn't exist in normal spacetime bloomed like toxic flowers as 11-dimensional entities began pushing through into normal reality. Battle stations, Vexilon ordered, his crystalline form vibrating with command harmonics. Energy surged through the Stellar Vigilance's systems as weapon capacitors charged and shield generators spooled up. In contrast, the shadow dancer made no visible preparations at all. Through her neural interface, Mira felt her crew adjusting quantum fields and probability matrices, but to any external observer, the ship appeared completely dormant. "Remember the plan," she broadcast to both crews. "Commonwealth forces handle conventional spacetime operations. We'll deal with the dimensional aspects. Work together, coordinate through the hybrid interface, and don't let them establish a foothold." The hybrid interface had been one of the first joint developments between human and Commonwealth technology, a system that could translate between quantum state communications and conventional energy-based signals. It wasn't perfect, but it allowed the two radically different technological approaches to function together. The Void Dancers emerged fully into normal space, their forms hurting the eyes and minds of anyone who looked directly at them. They appeared as constantly shifting geometric patterns that somehow suggested mass and volume far greater than what should be possible in three-dimensional space. "Commonwealth forces, execute pattern Sigma," Vexlon commanded. The Stellar Vigilance and its escort ships opened fire, their energy weapons creating a precise grid of intersecting beams that forced the Void Dancers to partially manifest in normal spacetime. "Now," Mira whispered, both aloud and through the neural net. The Shadow Dancer and its human squadron mates began their own operation, invisible to conventional sensors but devastating in higher dimensions. They manipulated quantum fields to lock the Void Dancers into a specific set of dimensional coordinates, preventing them from shifting between realities. Through her neural interface, Mira could sense the battle unfolding across multiple planes of existence. The Commonwealth ships were like brilliant stars, their energy weapons creating patterns of light and force that contained and constrained the Void Dancers. The human vessels were like shadows between shadows, their quantum manipulations subtle but profound, changing the very nature of space around their targets. "They're adapting," warned the Commonwealth tactical officer. The Void Dancers were attempting to shift their dimensional frequency, trying to slip between the energy grid points. "Not this time," Mira thought, directing her crew through the neural net. The Shadow Dancer executed what they had dubbed a probability lock, freezing the specific set of quantum states and forcing the Void Dancers to remain in a spacetime configuration where the Commonwealth weapons could affect them. The hybrid interface hummed with coordinated data as human and Commonwealth forces worked in concert. Energy beams struck with impossible precision, guided by quantum calculations. Probability fields shifted to take advantage of conventional force projections. Two entirely different approaches to warfare creating something entirely new. "Look at that," Nova whispered in Mira's mind. "The pattern they're creating. It's beautiful." And it was. The combination of Commonwealth energy matrices and human quantum fields was forming something unprecedented, a stable bridge between conventional spacetime and the higher dimensions where the Void Dancers existed. The entities were being trapped between realities, unable to fully exist in either realm. "All ships, execute final phase," Mira and Vexlon commanded simultaneously. The Commonwealth vessels poured power into their energy grid, while the human ships manipulated quantum states to an almost impossible degree. Space itself seemed to shiver as two different technological philosophies combined to create an effect that neither could have achieved alone. The Void Dancers, for the first time in recorded history, screamed. The sound existed in frequencies that shouldn't have been possible, a cry of 11-dimensional beings experiencing something they had never encountered before, the combined might of humanity's subtle manipulation and the Commonwealth's raw power. When it was over, when the hybrid sensors confirmed that the Void Dancers had been forced to retreat completely from normal spacetime, an unusual sound filled the bridges of both ships. Laughter, Commonwealth and human crew members celebrating together, their differences forgotten in the joy of shared victory. "Remarkable," Vexlon said, his crystalline form glowing with excitement harmonics. "Simply remarkable. Your quantum fields guided our energy beams with perfect precision. while our power output gave your probability manipulations the force they needed to affect higher dimensions. Mira nodded, still monitoring the battle space through her neural interface. Two different paths to the stars, two different approaches to technology, creating something greater than either alone. She smiled. Though I have to admit, watching your weapons in action, there's something satisfying about occasionally doing things the loud way. Just as there is something elegant about your subtle methods, Vexlon agreed. Perhaps the true path forward lies not in choosing between our approaches, but in learning to combine them. Through the neural net, Nova shared an observation. The Void Dancers will be back, but they'll be more cautious now. For the first time, they've encountered something they don't fully understand. Good, Mira thought back, because we're just getting started. Aloud, she addressed both crews. All ships begin after-action analysis. I want full quantum mapping of the engagement zone, conventional energy reading comparisons, and tactical assessments from both human and Commonwealth perspectives. We've proven our theories work. Now we need to refine them. As the crews began their work, Mira gazed out at the starfield. The Commonwealth ships blazed with visible power, their energy signatures proud and strong. The human vessels slipped between light and shadow, their quantum fields barely disturbing the fabric of space-time. Different approaches, different philosophies, different paths to the same goal. And somewhere out in the darkness, the Void Dancers were learning that the species they had preyed upon for so long had finally found a way to fight back. Not through overwhelming force alone, nor through pure subtle manipulation, but through the combined strength of both. The Symphony of Silence was building toward its crescendo. To be continued in Part 5. The Thunder Breaks. Admiral Chen Wei stood in the combined fleet's command center, watching as reality itself prepared for war. The massive chamber, built in the heart of a repurposed quantum asteroid, housed both Commonwealth and human command staff working in unprecedented harmony. Energy displays flickered alongside quantum state projections, while officers from both civilizations coordinated through the now-perfected hybrid interface system. The Void Dancers are massing in the 11th dimension, reported High Commander Zarlak, her former role as investigator making her uniquely qualified to understand both sides' tactical approaches. Our dimensional sensors detect at least 300 primary entities, with countless subordinate forms. The largest gathering we've ever seen. Chen agreed, her neural interface processing data from both quantum and conventional sources. They've realized that their usual tactics won't work against our combined forces. They're preparing to alter the fundamental constants of this entire sector of space. The tactical display, a marvel of hybrid technology that combined Commonwealth holographics with human quantum visualization, showed the enemy's position. The Void Dancers existed as writhing geometric impossibilities, their 11-dimensional forms casting shadows through multiple layers of reality. All forces report ready, announced Captain Mirapodol from her position coordinating the Ghost Fleet. The human ships had fully integrated with Commonwealth vessels over the past months, creating battle groups that could operate across multiple planes of existence simultaneously. Commander Vexlon's crystalline form sparkled as he reported for the Commonwealth forces. Energy reserves at maximum capacity. Shield harmonics synchronized with quantum field generators. All ships showing green across all dimensions we can measure. Chen nodded, feeling the weight of history pressing down on this moment. Begin Operation Thunderbreak. The combined fleet moved like nothing that had ever existed before in the galaxy's long history. Commonwealth dreadnoughts blazed with enough power to shame small suns, their energy weapons ready to tear holes in conventional space. Human quantum ships slipped between probabilities, their very existence a contradiction that bent reality around them. Support vessels from both civilizations maintained the complex web of hybrid technologies that allowed them all to work as one. They're reacting, Zarlak reported, her breathing bladders fully extended with tension. The Void Dancers are beginning their dimensional shift. Local space-time constants are already starting to fluctuate. Chen felt it through her neural interface. the laws of physics beginning to change as the 11-dimensional entities exerted their influence. The speed of light started to vary. Gravitational constants became uncertain. The very fabric of space-time began to fray. "Now," she commanded, "execute primary sequence." The Commonwealth ships moved first, their energy weapons firing in precisely calculated patterns. But instead of attempting to directly damage the Void Dancers, they were creating a complex mathematical framework in normal space, a cage of light and power that served as an anchor for what was to come. "Ghost Fleet, begin quantum manipulation," Chen ordered, her words carrying through both conventional and neural channels. "Pattern Omega-7." The human ships responded instantly. They didn't move in any conventional sense. Instead, they changed the probability of their own positions, existing in multiple states simultaneously. Their quantum fields interwove with the Commonwealth's energy framework, creating something that had never existed before, a stable bridge between conventional reality and the higher dimensions. "They're trying to withdraw." Zarlak's announcement carried both fear and triumph. The Void Dancers recognized the pattern. They're attempting to retreat to a higher dimensional plane. "Not this time," Chen said quietly. "Execute final phase." What happened next would be debated by physicists and philosophers for centuries to come. The Commonwealth ships poured every ounce of their tremendous energy reserves into the framework they had created. At the same time, the human vessels executed their most complex quantum manipulation ever attempted. The two forces combined, guided by both artificial and organic intelligence working in perfect harmony. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. Then reality changed. The bridge between dimensions became something more. A lens that focused both quantum manipulation and conventional energy into a single universe-altering effect. The Void Dancers found themselves trapped not by force or energy or quantum fields alone, but by the fundamental nature of reality itself. "The dimensional constants are stabilizing," reported the science officer, her voice filled with awe. "The bridge, it's not just trapping them, it's changing them, forcing them to exist in a fixed set of dimensional coordinates." Through her neural interface, Chen watched as the Void Dancers experienced something entirely new to their existence: permanence. These beings that had evolved to shift between dimensions, to change the very laws of physics to suit their needs, were being locked into a single, immutable state of being. The effect rippled through 11-dimensional space like thunder through a summer sky. Void Dancers tried to flee, only to find that the laws of physics they had so casually manipulated for eons were now working against them. The combined power of Commonwealth energy technology and human quantum manipulation had changed the rules of reality itself. Engineering reports from all ships, Vexlon announced, his crystalline form vibrating with intensity. The effect is self-sustaining. The bridge isn't just trapping them, it's rewriting the dimensional interfaces across this entire sector of space. They can't change the constants anymore. They can't shift between realities. "They're retreating," Zarlak confirmed, her sensor data flowing through the hybrid interface. "Not just from this battle, but from this entire region of space. The dimensional barriers are becoming permanent." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Send the signal to all ships. Begin final containment protocols." The combined fleet moved with perfect precision, their hybrid technologies working to reinforce the new reality they had created. Commonwealth energy matrices locked the dimensional constants in place, while human quantum fields ensured that the changes would persist through all possible probability states. Hours later, when the last measurements were confirmed and the final readings analyzed, Chen stood before the assembled commanders of both fleets. The chamber was packed with representatives of both civilizations, Commonwealth officers glowing with power and human captains quietly manipulating quantum states. "The Void Dancers are gone," she announced simply. "Not just defeated, but fundamentally denied access to this region of space. The dimensional barriers we've created will last for millions of years. They cannot be broken by force or subverted by subtle manipulation. They simply are." A cheer went up from the assembled officers, expressions of joy manifesting in dozens of different ways across the various species present. But Chen raised her hand for silence. This victory belongs to neither humanity nor the Commonwealth alone. It belongs to both of us, together. We have proven that there is no single path to the stars, no one right way to advance. The combination of our different approaches has created something entirely new, a way of understanding and manipulating reality that neither of us could have achieved alone. She gestured to the tactical display, where the new dimensional barriers shone like auroras across multiple planes of existence. Look at what we have built together. The Commonwealth's mastery of energy and humanity's understanding of quantum mechanics. Your light and our shadows. Your thunder and our silence. Apart, we were strong. Together, we are transformative. Zarlak stepped forward, her breathing bladders pulsing with emotion. The question now becomes, where do we go from here? Chen smiled, and this time there was no subterfuge in it, no hidden meanings or careful calculations. We go forward together. There are more wonders in this universe than either of our civilizations have dreamed of. More paths to explore, more mysteries to unravel, more ways to combine our different approaches to understanding reality. She looked out at the assembled officers, seeing not two separate forces, but one unified whole. The thunder has broken, and with it, our old limitations. Now it's time to see what we can really achieve. In the space around them, Commonwealth ships blazed with power, while human vessels slipped quietly between quantum states. Different approaches, different philosophies, different paths to the same magnificent goal: understanding and shaping the universe itself. The long silence was over, and the symphony was just beginning. The end.